Today we'll be opening up a Power of the Force Deluxe Boba Fett.
Hit it, hit it, hit it. Get it going. Two mothers went to the park. It was kinda dark. In the daytime, Carl and Ryan in the daytime. Carl and Ryan in the daytime. Carl and Ryan, dope niggas, come by them in the bush in the hip.
Go ahead, pop that.
Come
head.
on, you. Come on, pop it.
Oh!
What's up, CCNRR fans? Back again. Can you believe Season 5 has come to a close?
Season 5 is done, so we have 2 weeks and we're back.
That's right. 2-week break and back again at the grind. You know what I mean? So we had a lot of great stuff going on this year. We had, even though it was the season of Corona.
Even though everything was shut down.
And was shut down.
Couldn't leave the basement.
We couldn't leave the basement.
But we still had a lot of fun activities.
Hasbro managed to make as many repacks as possible this year. But we got a lot of stuff.
The good news is I couldn't go anywhere this year because I'm out of money.
That's right. That's right. We didn't have to worry about air condition because we spent it all on Star Wars.
It's a good thing we're underground.
That's right. Yeah, you're in the Star Wars bunker. So I mean, we had a lot of good reveals this season.
We did.
We had a lot of awesome giveaways.
We had a July 4th spectacular.
Is a July 4th spectacular. I had Corona Eye or Zombie Eye. Yeah. And we had Jar Jar came and visit us this year.
He did.
He scared you.
He scared me in my dreams.
He scared you. So we saved, I think, probably the best for last for this season. We try to do a little bit special stuff in the beginning of the season, at the end of the season. And on this episode, we're kind of going to be like Howard Stern's, right?
We're actually going to be interviewing people.
We're going to be interviewing people. So we don't know how this is going to work, right?
No.
But we have so much production value now with our other big thing.
I don't know if the fans notice right now behind us. Whatever's behind, I don't know what's on the screen.
I don't know, but
he'll surprise us. But it's not really there.
It's not really there. We are so high production value now.
We were able to afford a green sheet.
That's right. And you know why? Because our cameraman's not cutting his hair anymore.
Correct. I've saved the money.
You saved the money.
I've saved the money on the haircuts, and we were able to buy a new screen.
That's right. So on this episode, it's going to be a 2-part episode.
Probably, yes.
Probably.
I think it will be.
Right. And we have... Oh, before we do this, do you want to give a shout out to one of our fans?
Oh, the winner of
of one of our many contests.
The first contest.
It is the first contest.
So our super fan,
yeah,
rfig on Instagram, once again won the first items, which were the little minifigs.
Yes.
And he then, I don't know, we can't figure it out.
Yeah.
But he liked it, then it came to us on Instagram.
That's right. So that's one of the many.
So I was thank you for the shout out. We appreciate it. And he even used the words. He said, "I now have props from the CCNRR show," which, when you think about it, I guess.
And that's what kind of triggered this show.
It is.
We got props.
It is.
We got props. So, in any event, on this episode, we're going to be interviewing a gentleman who has gone to Tunisia.
Braver than us.
I
don't leave the basement.
Yeah.
So he left the country.
He left the country to actually go and trek some of the many film scenes from the original trilogy.
The original trilogy and our favorite episode. Episode 1.
Episode 1, right. That's right. Too bad he didn't see Jar Jar.
That would have been amazing.
That would have been awesome. So we're going to do an interview. He's going to talk a lot about some of what he likes about Star Wars. He's going to talk about his trip.
His experience.
And
maybe show us some sweet treats he brought, which I'm already going to take one of them.
Yep. And if you want to go, we're going to spill the beans on what that may look like.
Maybe to make it a little bit more convenient, because I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So he's got some obviously some information that can give you some, better ways to make plans.
Yes. And then we have a special giveaway at the end. Mm-hmm. But you'll have to work for it. But it's probably one of the most awesome giveaways ever. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Are we really going to give that away?
I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. Because I feel like it should go on eBay, right?
I should sell it for I could probably sell it for a few $1,000s. Thank you for that.
That's right.
That's going to fund the show for the next few years.
That's right.
I think a special fan is gonna get this treat, and I think they're gonna be pretty excited about it. Because if you're a fan of Star Wars, why wouldn't you want this?
Exactly.
It's gonna be pretty cool.
All right, so without further ado, let's get started. Jonathan! I'll be right there, RR! So full disclosure, we're not 6 feet apart.
That's
But,
true.
But because we have...
I was tested, though, like 3 days ago.
And my mom cut some of my hair, so I got shot with the thermometer, so I'm good. So no problems.
I'm a big risk.
Okay.
Just so that you both know.
I've been
All right?
tested every day for the last 4 months, so I'm good.
So here we are. So we got all this production value. So for the fans, set expectations. We're going to do this awesome interview.
We're trying some new tech.
Some new tech that we got. And so we're going to be throwing up some of the pictures, and we may disappear.
Yes, so he can
It's
explain.
movie magic of what's going on. So you'll see these awesome pictures from his trip, but we won't be there.
So why don't you explain, why don't you do an intro so everyone knows who he is?
Yes, so this is Jonathan, and I met him. This is actually kind of interesting story. So I was on eBay, and I was looking for some Star Wars card backs, and he happened to have a Chewie 21 back, right? I think it was 21 back. Chewie, and we started emailing back and forth. He was trying to scout me on it, but we talked down a little bit, and so I ended up buying it. And
well, he thought it was real too.
got him, I'm gonna have to get it graded now.
You got him.
So I bought it, and then when the address came up, it was local.
He was local.
He was local, and this was right when Corona was kicking off, and they were shutting down everything. So we ended up saying, well, let's just meet. And so we met at one of the local malls in the area, and we got to talking, and you were like, yeah, I went to Tunisia, I went to all these places to see all these Star Wars things.
Just came out of the gate bragging about.
Yeah, it's really. He said, look, I got this awesome, these props from, and I was like, sweet. And I was like, that's CC&R material.
You immediately thought of the fans.
I said,
and the show.
Because we do it for the fans, gotta have them on the show.
Perfect.
So it took a lot of money and a lot of bribing, and I got some of my scalped money back.
Got it.
So now he's on the show with us. So
awesome.
That's kind of how this happened.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So you're a big Star Wars fan.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've showcased our collection on the show, but you specialize. You do a very specialization in the original Star Wars card back figures. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. And I think that's just for me. That's my childhood, right? And so there's nothing that takes me back more than seeing a vintage carded figure. And really, I mean, if you were at my home, I don't have the room for it, but I'd love to have my stuff out, but I really don't. And so what I have from a collection standpoint are the toys that I played with when I was little, right? And more recently, I've started picking up the carded 12 backs, and I'm just now starting to get into the second wave. And so I think I'll probably stop it at Boba Fett, because that's the point where I have to start explaining money to my wife.
That's the point of no return.
We know.
Don't worry, we're right there with you. And it's funny how he mentioned the vintage card backs bring back nostalgia.
Right.
Because what have we been complaining about with all the crap we've been buying lately?
Right.
Is that all the 40th stuff and the retro line, they're just regurgitating because they know that we're buying it for the card back. That's it.
It hits it.
It goes right to the heart, and you have to buy them. That's why I've got them all hanging up.
That's right.
They're all there.
So how many do you have? Do you have the whole set except Boba Fett?
Yeah, well, I've got the original 12, and
That's awesome.
I've got from the next wave, I've only got 3. I've got Luke X-Wing, Death Star Droid, and Hammerhead.
Nice.
Right, the best Cantina alien that is out there.
That's
Nice.
true.
So,
That's true.
and right now I'm looking at an R5D4
Yeah.
and a Greedo. So we'll see what happens.
Now are these bubbles like dented? Are they destroyed?
Well, because I've focused it so much,
Uh-huh.
I can divert. I can focus all my money in on that.
Uh-huh.
So I've actually, I've tried to get the best examples that I could reasonably afford.
Gotcha.
So now are you
they're nice.
particular, like RR's particular, where if it even has like the slightest imperfection, it's going back? Or do you say, all right, it's good enough the way it looks?
Yeah, well, there's a part of it, that's a little bit of the journey for the figure, right?
Mhm.
There's usually something there, whether it's a slight imperfection. But I'm particular about the bubble seal, which I think you are too.
Yes.
Oh yes.
And
Cartoon.
when we met, and you were looking at that bubble, I was like, wow, he's into this more than I am. Because I thought I was bad about the bubble seal. But yeah, you look at it and you try and tell if it's lifting or if maybe there's just a little bit of appeal to it. But no, I've never bought a figure and then gotten rid of it for that reason, right?
You do the research before you buy it.
I try to, and I don't know whether grading is worth it or not, but it at least gives me an idea of what to expect.
Absolutely.
Right? And then you can kind of focus in on questions like, well, why do you think it got an 80 instead of an 85 or whatever it might be.
Gotcha.
So are you buying them graded? Or
I didn't start out that way, but then I had a couple of mine graded at Celebration that I had bought, and they came back really good, and that kind of just sparked it.
I gotcha.
So I was like, okay, this is the level that I'm trying to get to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So now, will you buy? Is there a specific rate? Like, would you not buy anything that's below an 80?
I don't think I would have started out that way, but as I've collected things, that's probably it. Yeah, that's
The
probably
base.
the
The base
base.
is about 80.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I've got some 85s and some 80s.
Gotcha.
so are you offended when you see the retro line have damage all over the cards?
Have
Compared
you
to
seen the retro lines? Have you seen these retro?
Oh yeah, they're
Okay.
fantastic.
I think they're fantastic.
Yeah.
But we just can't. We don't understand why they purposely put damage on them.
If you look at it, you can tell it's not original, right? So if they're worried about somebody trying to scalp it, that's got to be somebody that has just gotten into the hobby if they spend $600 on
Clearly.
a Hasbro vintage card.
Right, because there's nothing about it on the back of the card that would ever trick
Right.
anybody.
And they're beautiful to look at. They're great,
Mhm.
and I think they're fantastic. But yeah, I don't know why they put the damage on the outside. I really don't.
It does drive me a little bit crazy.
Okay, so that's a pet peeve for the two of you.
It is, because we try to get the best card backs of our vintage collection. And why is it that I have vintage cards that are better than the retro line? That's what we always say.
That's a great.
Because I wouldn't buy a figure purposely that looked like that.
Yeah.
Well, when they came out with the vintage collection and the retro collection,
Yeah.
someone said, "I think we kind of screwed up. So
Yeah.
we got to do something here
Something
to
has
make
to
them look a little,
differentiate,
little
yeah.
different,
Yeah.
So, but that's how it is. So, is there, out of the ones that you're doing? So you said a Greedo.
Yeah.
And an R5D4. Is there any those the ones that you want next, just because you like those figures, or are you just kind of, they fell into your lap where you're like, these two I'm watching are going to be the ones?
Whatever seems to come across that has that right balance.
That mix.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be Snaggletooth. It could be the Power Droid.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it just whatever becomes available and whatever I feel like I can afford, and then sort of pace yourself at the same time.
Gotcha.
Right?
And you don't
So,
display those. Those are hidden away in a safe.
For now, they are. I just really don't have a good place for them.
Gotcha. I have
Right.
plenty of room in here.
So
If you want to
I'll
bring them,
by.
I will showcase them.
Bring 'em
I'll have a nicer showcase for it.
Well, actually, CC could give you all of this, and you can give him the 12
Yeah,
bags.
and it'd be about an even price.
It'd be about even. Yeah, it'd be good to go.
I think I'd be getting the better deal on that when I look at everything that you've got over here.
So you mentioned your wife. You haven't had to explain this to your wife yet?
She's really good.
Yeah.
I'll usually, when we go to bed, this might be weird, but I'll put Star Wars on the TV, and that's what I fall asleep to.
Mhm.
25 years, she's never complained about that.
Perfect.
That-
So we got a good one too.
Yeah.
Tunisia, she didn't care.
Now
she had no desire
That would
to
have been
go.
that would have been tough to.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And she has never asked me what a figure costs.
Wow.
I ask her, I'll say, "Do you want to know how much this was?" And she'll say, "I don't want to know." And so
Wow,
that just
we're gonna
leaves
have
it
to
at that.
tranquilize our wives
Yeah,
here.
I
a
gotta
little
train
bit.
her to stop asking those questions.
I know, right? I mean, you're in the basement.
I've been getting a lot of those questions lately. Why is there the box here?
Why aren't the lights coming
Yeah.
on?
Why do I not have hot water?
Right. I know.
What happened to the internet?
They
You
wait,
keep that. You
and
keep
see,
that.
they
You
don't
gotta have
understand
that.
that.
Right.
Sometimes you do have to make the difference. Well, do I have the car payment? Do I make the payment this month, or do I buy this figure?
It's all a balance.
Right.
That's
Well,
all
if they
about-
come and repo the car, I'll get another one.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Sit at home and look at your figures.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's where I want to be anyway.
Right. Well, that's good. That's good. So let's kind of transition here into this trip.
Mhm.
So give us a little bit of the origin of this trip that you took, and then we'll get into some of these details.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me pull up, because I do have...
Well, we're going to utilize this screen now.
Yeah, we're going to utilize the screen, but there's lots of cool pictures on here that I think the fans are going to want to see. But yeah, give us kind of how this started, and we'll get into it.
Yeah. So, I saw Star Wars when I was 7, and those images are just sort of burned into your mind, right? When you're that young and you're seeing these things, and flash forward into the mid 90s, maybe late 90s, coming up to the prequels, and there was an article in Star Wars Insider, and a guy named David West Reynolds, right, who's written a couple of Star Wars books, went to Tunisia in search of all these places. And I guess there was probably a lot of information, but not in the right places. He really had to do a lot of digging to put these different locations together. And he did it. He went all through Tunisia, found these spots, took photos of it, put together a video of it not too recently, and did this article in Star Wars Insider. And a really good friend of mine that I had met in college who lives in Atlanta, I happened to have it while I was down there visiting him, and I was like, you know what, Joel, we should do this. We could do this. And so we talked about it, and we talked about it, and we talked about it, and nothing happened. And then around 2013, I was driving to work one day, and just on a whim, I called him up, and I said, you know what, let's do it. I said, we'll fly there, we'll rent a car, we'll have GPS, we can get all around the country, we'll go and see these things, and it'll be the trip of a lifetime. And so that was sort of how it came to be.
So I guess one of the first questions I would have for you is when you were doing some of the research of the gentleman who had kind of found this places, there was stuff left, like it wasn't pillaged that much, right?
Yeah.
And so, can you talk about that? I mean, you said the dragon was still there?
Yeah, the crate dragon out on the dunes was still there. And I guess he didn't bring any of that back. He wanted to leave it for other fans, but it's since been pillaged.
I'm sure by now, right?
Yeah.
The tether ring, the dewback tether ring right next to the cantina, that was still there. The door that the 3 Jawas are sitting in front of was still there. Not when I was there, but
right.
When he rediscovered all of this.
Yeah, see, he made the mistake of telling people, and then everyone stole it.
Exactly, that's right. Before I could get there.
Exactly,
that's right.
Exactly.
How selfish. But yeah, and some places you really have to use your imagination to see it. The cantina is one, because if you think about the scene from the movie, all those dome-shaped buildings, they're all gone, except for the one that was actually used for the cantina. But even then, they built sort of a fake entrance, so when you look at the building, you can't really quite visualize it.
Right.
But then other places that you would go, like the Lars homestead, the interior right down in the pit, they still have the set dressing from Attack of the Clones. And when you walk around there, you're waiting for Uncle Owen to come out of some room and start yelling at you about something.
It's crazy.
Star Wars Canyon looks exactly like it was when they filmed. So your experience is a little bit different in all these different places, but it's all fantastic.
So what did you do to prep to go?
Well, for the 2014 trip, I did a lot on Google Earth, and that actually ended up being very useful. I had looked at these photos. Remember when you could attach photos to Google Earth and you could click on them? Can't really do that as much anymore. But I found myself in Tunisia recognizing roundabouts from the photos that I had studied.
Wow.
Yeah, when I had planned it. So I had planned a route, and took us from Tunis down to the island of Jerba, where they filmed the cantina, Ben's hovel, and Tashi Station, and then down to Medellin, where they filmed the slave quarters for Anakin in Episode 1, up to Mount Mata, which is where the interior of the homestead was, where they had dinner, Luke and Beru and Owen. And then we went up from there to a town called Tuzur, or Tuzur. You'll find it pronounced differently, or at least I did. And this is a really cool spot, because within just certain areas, you've got Star Wars Can, you've got the Mos Esposette, you've got a lookout that Darth Maul used in Episode 1, and you've got the homestead from the original Star Wars in the dunes, where they land in the escape pod. So, basically tracing this route, checking it out on Google Earth, right down to the idea that, okay, we're going to take on this roundabout out of town, we take the 3 o'clock, we take this spoke. And it was easy. We got lost once. We did, we planned on having a GPS, which didn't quite work out. Fortunately, we had a map with us, thanks to my 85-year-old dad.
See the old school paper maps, they don't change.
They don't change.
And I laughed at him when he gave it to us, but that's what saved us more than a few times. And and the neat thing about it is you've got Roman ruins along the way that you can stop and see. So there's a lot of cultural stuff there too.
That's
but and that was it. We booked everything ourselves, and it was pretty flawless.
Well, the crazy thing is we were talking offset. So, we're planning a trip to go out west next summer, and that's going to cost me $5,000. So when you were saying the things you did, we're thinking it's going to cost $15,000 to get out there, right?
Yeah.
Right. So for me just to go in my own country, just states over is going to cost a ton to fly, to stay, to all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you said the cost is relatively cheap.
You said it was only $100, right?
120.
Oh,
that's
right?
right.
Okay.
Yeah. That was
The
with
cost of a
tips.
Black Series figure.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I just spent on this Dagobah Luke I just bought.
Oh, it really is affordable.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the time with travel, you think that it has to cost a lot of money,
Right.
but it really, in this case anyway, it didn't. So the airfare, can I go into that?
Absolutely, yeah.
The airfare at the time was about $1,000. They're a little bit higher now, probably $1,100-1,200.
And how long was the flight for that?
Ooh, we had to go through Paris, so 6 hours. And then from Paris, we went to Tunis, which is only about a 2.5-hour flight, if I remember it
So, like,
correctly. Not bad.
8 hours? Not bad.
Yeah,
8,
not
9
bad.
hours? Not bad.
Arrive in Paris in the morning, hour and a half later, you have your flight to Tunis. So it's actually a very quick trip.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Airfare, about $1,000 at the time. Renting the car maybe added, $150, $200. But once you're in country, and of course the car is split between two people in my case. Once you're in country, it's incredibly inexpensive. The hotels that you would stay in, and if I'm traveling to a place like Tunisia, I want to feel like I'm staying somewhere that is reasonably
Secure.
secure,
I gotcha.
right? Because it's a foreign country that I don't know. I don't speak the language. So nice places where we would stay, resort hotels usually. You would have, for two people, you could probably spend the night and have full board, so breakfast and dinner and, well, half board, I guess. Anyway, for about $70.
I mean, it's pretty cheap.
So, and this is maybe a stupid question, but you're using their currency, right?
That's an interesting question. It's a closed currency. So you can't go to the bank and get Tunisian money before you go. You actually have to get it when you're there. And that leads to a little bit of a funny story, if I can.
Yeah,
and this
absolutely.
sort of says something about the people of Tunisia. At the time, I had never been to a Muslim country, and, we kind of studied up because we didn't want to inadvertently offend anyone, right, in being there and doing what we did. Anyway, so the very first day we set out from Tunis, we drove out of town, and we stopped off at a gas station, and we thought, we're going into the desert, we should probably have bottled water. So we stopped off to get some bottled water. We picked up a few other things, and we went through this long line, and we got to the front, and they wouldn't take our money, and we couldn't figure out what we were doing wrong. And we didn't speak Arabic or Berber or French, and they didn't speak English. And the guy behind me just really sort of softly said, "Your bills are too large."
Oh.
And I had no idea that would be an issue.
Right.
And, you're embarrassed because your bills are too large, right? And you don't want to be that guy in the line. And so I'm trying to rifle through my pocket without making a big deal out of it because we just had all this cash in our pocket from, cash exchanging our money. And the guy behind me started talking to the clerk, and he paid for our stuff.
Really?
And he would not let us pay him back. And when he walked out, he kind of clapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Welcome to Tunisia."
Wow.
So that is what started us off on our journey. And,
Nice.
to a person, that was what we experienced throughout the country.
See, that's something that you don't really think about. Like, you think of all the turmoil and everything like that. So
Yeah.
to have people just, like you said, every time you
Be
said you're
people.
American, people were excited.
Yeah.
And they were pleasant.
Yeah.
So it makes you feel a bit better because, that's one of the reasons I thought I would never even think about doing something like that, just because of the,
Right.
and the expense too. So like I said, you said it wasn't relatively overly expensive, which, maybe some people would never even thinking about it because they're like, oh, it's too expensive or it's too this. But
Yeah.
$1,500, $2,000 is not that much money.
No.
So
No, not for that experience.
No.
For what we did.
And how long were you going?
so-
How long did you go for?
Almost exactly a week.
Oh, okay.
Including travel time. And that felt like the right amount of time that we didn't feel rushed. Some things like Star Wars Canyon, you probably want a whole day.
Yeah.
Right. And as an aside, filmed right next to Star Wars Canyon was the Tanis dig site from Raiders of the Lost Ark. So you can actually do kind of a day and a half
That's
sort
awesome.
of thing there.
That's awesome.
But other places like the slave quarters from Episode 1, you're probably there an hour, and you're on the road. But it was a great experience.
Now the slave quarter stuff. Is that a facade just from the front?
That is real.
So you can actually go into that.
They're called gorfas,
Okay.
and they're hundreds of years old, and they were grain storage. And so you had these sort of nomadic tribes, as I understand it. This is what was explained to us. For protection, these tribes would sort of band together and store their grain together, and they would watch out for each other with these gorfas. And over the years, they've just sort of translated into other purposes. Some of them are used for storage now. Some of them are actually living quarters. There were people living in them when we were there.
Wow.
But they are real.
That's
and
crazy.
It's amazing to behold.
Well, and
quite
that's a good transition. So maybe let's talk about a couple of the key locations, because you mentioned some. Because let's maybe we'll start with that one. So, is Anakin's house still there?
Yeah.
Like, can you go in it?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you could, right? But you'd not be knocking on somebody's door potentially.
Okay.
And another crazy Star Wars person here. So we played it low key. There was some in 2014. It was pretty empty. In 2018, when we were back there, there were a lot of men that were kind of hanging out. They were playing games like, I don't know, some sort of card game. Really friendly, but you didn't want to impose on them. So we kind of just went there, held back, took some photos, and tried not to interrupt daily life too much. But yeah, there's a door there. Anakin's door is right there.
The same door.
Different door.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I wonder if the tables in there were
the
Jar
doorway
Jar.
is there, right? Yeah.
I wonder if Jar Jar, like the table where
he got his tongue
Qui-Gon,
grabbed.
got his
He got his tongue grabbed.
Yeah, got his tongue grabbed. I wonder if that's in there.
Maybe the old C-3PO is still in there.
That and the little parsnip.
The parsnippets.
Yeah.
That would be worth seeing.
Yeah. You get one of those at Disney for like $100.
Yeah, of course
Really?
you can. Yeah, they sell them at the Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
The Den of Antiquities sells it.
There you go.
Nice.
If you ever need one, I mean, I'm sure those sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
Hook me up. Right?
So so pull that photo up then. So let's we can
Well,
explain that
well,
first photo then.
yeah,
the one
'cause-
from episode 1.
Yeah, because that's, I mean, it's, when you look at it from the outside, you know exactly what you're looking at.
Absolutely.
I mean, even the little steps to the different huts.
So those
And
those were already there. But those were not built for episode 1.
That's right. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, and I could be wrong on this, but I feel like I read at some point that they were actually scouted for the original trilogy. Maybe when they were looking at Tatooine,
Oh, wow.
they ended up not being used. I could be wrong on
So maybe
that.
that's why he went back, because he knew they were there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the structure is so unique. The steps, right, and the doorways, they're all different. So it's really easy to pick out the film frames. So
It's pretty crazy.
So, and a couple of the other things that are there are like the moisture evaporators, right? And those are still chilling.
Yes and no. So those are really, you see those in Mos Espa. There is in Mos Espa. So this was the set, right, that Lucas built way out in the Sahara for episode 1, used again in episode 2, and there are moisture evaporators there. 2014, you had probably 80% of the moisture evaporator there. And in 2018, you had probably 60% of the moisture evaporator
And is that
there.
from people stealing pieces off of it?
I think it must be, yeah. I
That's
did not take
unfortunate.
anything. Nothing. Well, that's not true. I've got stuff sitting right here.
He's got a half of a unit in the back of his yard in his house.
Yeah, that's right.
You're using
right.
it as like a dog house, right? For the dog.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's tough getting on the plane. But
So they'll progress. So you've been there how many times now?
twice.
So twice. So you did see a difference in things disappearing.
I did.
Because now they
I did.
redid the main hut.
Yes. Like the igloo?
Yeah, they have
Luke's-
remastered that, right?
Yep.
Because it was falling apart.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was fans that did that?
It was a Belgian guy named Mark, and I'm going to mispronounce his last name, Demerel, I think his name is. And they did the Save the Homestead campaign.
I remember reading about that.
Yeah, and he's been there a number of times, and so he led this team to go over there, and they put it all back together. I saw it post that.
Gotcha.
So, they took the structure that was used in Attack of the Clones, which was on the spot where they had used it for A New Hope, and they remodeled it, refurbished it, put it back together, and
Gotcha.
when I saw it, it looked nicely weathered. It looked just about perfect from what you would remember from A New Hope.
And we got a ton of pictures of this.
Oh, yeah.
This show.
Yeah, and that was my favorite spot, of the entire trip, was to be there and to see that. In 2018, it was starting to look dilapidated again.
Yeah.
But I understand that about 2 months after we were there in 2018, another group came in and
Did it again.
Yeah, did
So
it
they're
again.
keeping up with it.
So, I mean, what was it gone before, broken up, or?
The original one from the 70s.
Yes,
That was
yeah,
gone.
that was totally gone.
It was just a
So
site.
When Lucas went, the site was there. The crater was still there.
So they knew where it was.
If you knew where to look, you could walk out there and you could see the forced perspective crater, right? That you would look down and see Baru in the movie. So that was still there, and I guess the indentation from where the other structures had been, you could still sort of make that out.
Okay.
So when he went back for Attack of the Clones, built it just
right where it
went
was.
back to the original plans and right where it was.
Gotcha.
And following that, they left it.
So this is the one they keep refurbishing is the one from
Attack
of the Clones.
Yes.
Okay.
And what is it made out of?
Isn't it plaster?
Yeah, plaster, wood. This is a piece. When you're looking at the igloo and you can see behind Luke the lighted structure, right? Which I guess technically is the garage, right?
That's the roof of the garage, I guess.
When I was there in 2014, that was still in pretty good shape, and I didn't disturb it. In 2018, it was falling apart, so I picked this piece of it up and brought it home. It doesn't mean anything, but I know what it is.
So this is a piece from the Attack of the Clones.
Yes, that's
this
right.
is not from '77.
That's correct.
Okay.
So did you rip that off?
This looks like it's been
No.
cut. It looks like you brought some tools there and cut this.
If anyone from the Tunisian government is listening, I did not do that. No, I really didn't.
It's just
It
broken.
was,
I'm sure
it
just
was
the sun.
probably hanging on by a rusty nail somewhere, but all I did was have to wiggle it and pull it, and it wasn't going to be there much longer.
So,
I think some of the locals take some of the stuff for supplies as well. if
So
they need it.
movie
So,
history right here.
Yeah.
Attack of the
Yeah.
George Lucas could have touched this for all we know.
He did.
He touched
He
this,
did.
and
That's my story.
now it is
Yeah.
here in the CCNR studio.
Better yet, you know who really touched that?
Jar Jar.
Jar Jar touched that. Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool though. I mean, that's cool that was just there like that.
Yeah, that was the one piece of a set that I actually took.
That's pretty cool. Well, now that we're talking about that, you might as well we'll talk about the other piece right
Yeah,
here.
Let's
sure.
why don't you give us a little story about the homestead?
Yeah.
And kind of what?
What your experience was at
Yeah.
the homestead, because that's
Okay.
by far the coolest experience. I think.
Yeah, so 2014, remember, this is me and my buddy, we're on our own, right? We've got a map. We have no GPS at this point. The GPS didn't work outside of Tunis, so we are following this Michelin map. The homestead, the igloo, I think for a Star Wars fan, that's what you go there to see. I mean, that's the thing that makes it the perfect trip.
Absolutely.
And so on Google Earth, I knew that as we came around this bend, way out on the salt flat, you should be able to see it because it's very flat and it's just right out there. And sure enough, we came around the bend and it's like, there it is. It's just sort of waiting there for us. And I should say that in 2014, when we were traveling around Tunisia, you would see a lot of soldiers with checkpoints with automatic rifles. They would always wave us through. They'd see that we were tourists and they would just tell us to go on. So that was not unusual in 2014. And in 2018, we didn't see any of that at all.
Really?
2014, yeah, it was just none. And so we're driving down this road, and at some point, you've got to either go off-road or park on the side of the road and walk way out there to get to the igloo. And
these aren't paved roads, right?
this one is. This
okay.
is actually, I'm glad you asked that, because this is the road that leads into Algeria, which is only about 6 miles away.
Okay.
Which is not where you want to end up.
No,
Right.
You're gonna have to call Rambo.
You're going to have to go
Rambo 4.
Rambo.
Could get you out.
Yeah, that's right.
And all of a sudden, about 6 or 7 soldiers walked out. And he held up his hand, and you could see that they were armed. And there's that moment where you're thinking, are these really Tunisian soldiers?
Yeah, this could be it.
Or are these guys that are pretending to be Tunisian soldiers, right?
You didn't think they were
And-
going to be selling 21 backs.
Yeah.
I did.
Next thing you know, you're gonna have to write letters to
Open up
Lucas,
the trunk.
Lucas to bail him out.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, we stopped and they had us get out of the car. They didn't speak English. And this happened everywhere in Tunisia. My friend has red hair. So whenever people saw us, they would say, Dutch? And we'd say, no, not Dutch. English? No, not English. American? Yes, we're American. And we went through that same thing with them. And when they got to the American, and we said, yeah, we're American, they were like, American! And they just had these big smiles on their face. And they checked under the car. I think that they have to check to see if we're smuggling anything. They popped the trunk, pulled out the spare tire. So they really gave us a good, it was an unsettling experience because you don't speak the language.
When you don't know what exactly is happening.
They thought he was smuggling Power of the Force yak faces out, right?
Yeah, that's right. And a few vinyl Cape Jawas that I have found.
That's right.
But they were really friendly. They were really chatty. And we one of them eventually said, Star Wars? And we said, yeah, Star Wars. Star Wars! And as it would happen, their little hut was blocking the view of the igloo. So we couldn't really point to it and say, that's where we want to go. But they knew that we were there to see Star Wars. Well, everybody in that area thinks of the Mos Espa set, which is only about 25 miles away, as being Star Wars. So they kept saying, no, turn around. Star Wars is back that way. And we're like, no, it's right over here. No, that way, this way, no good. No good.
Right.
Algeria. They were actually trying to keep us from
getting
wandering.
lost out there.
And so they had the guns, we didn't. At some point, you get in the car, you smile, you say thank you, you wave, and you drive off. And I was crushed. You know, here we had traveled 3,000 miles, and I wasn't going to get there. I could see it, but I wasn't going to get there.
Right.
Right.
Now, could you see it? Did you see what?
Oh, we saw it.
You just
you could see it.
And they weren't looking at it?
Yeah, like if you were pointing.
Well, it was behind the building, right? And, you know, everything that I didn't want to walk away from the car and arouse any sort of suspicion, so we just kind of stayed where we were. And we went back to the hotel, and I was talking to the guy there, and I thought maybe he can write us a note that we can take back there. And he wouldn't do it. You know, I drew a map, and he was like, no, there's no Star Wars there. You want to go to Mos Espa. Mos Espa.
Yeah, everybody clearly knows that's the spot.
So the next day, we went into town, and we went to a travel agency because, you know, they do a lot of stuff with the Sahara here. And same story. Drew a map. No, there's no Star Wars there. You guys want to go to Mos Espa. And by the way, we did. We hired a guy to take us over the dunes. So if you go there, hire somebody to get you to Mos Espa. You go dune bashing in the Sahara to get there. It's awesome.
That'd be awesome.
But so we contracted for that because we knew we did want to go to Mos Espa. And I said, well, can you have an English-speaking driver? No problem. Well, the guy showed up the next day, and he was like, bonjour. So no English whatsoever. And I just sat in the back seat, and I was about to start crying, right? And my buddy Joel said, well, why don't we show him the book? We had taken a book with a bunch of film grabs, right? Screen grabs from the movies to reference while we were there. And I said, no, that's pointless. Nobody knows where this place is, right? So he got the book out, showed the driver, and he said, no Mos Espa. So we knew that he knew. And that guy ended up taking us both places. He spent hours with us.
That's awesome.
A lot longer than he was supposed to.
That's awesome. So you got to go to it.
We got to go to at sunset.
That's the best time.
The best photograph that I think I will ever have in my life is with me and the sun setting, and I added the sun with Photoshop.
Nice. So you have the two suns. And we'll pull that photo up as well.
So when you took that photo, I mean, that was legit. Besides adding the other sun.
Totally legit.
Like, that scene is, for the most part, you know, legit.
That's it.
And they've ended how many movies with that scene now? 3 movies?
At least 3.
Right?
Yeah, they did Ray, Episode 2,
Revenge of the Sith, and
Revenge of the Sith. Yeah.
So they've ended. 4. I think they've ended 3 movies with that scene. Yeah. So clearly that's a classic scene.
Right.
Everyone should have that picture.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
So
that was the highlight.
And the igloo, you can't really go in.
You can go in it. There's nothing to see.
Okay.
Yeah, there's chicken wire, and you see the structure and the plaster. But that's it. There's nothing inside.
There's nothing inside.
And you left a little treat in there.
I did. 2 days before we left, I had the idea to print a photo of me when I was a little kid holding up. Remember Escape from the Death Star?
I do. I have the retro one.
Best game ever, right? I still force my kids to play it occasionally.
I think you're literally the only one that's ever played this game because we were trying to figure out.
I make my family play this. That's like my birthday gift. Every year they have to play this game.
We literally did a show where we reviewed that and we said, who plays this game? And
Break
you're not
it out.
making
Now
that
we
up.
know.
Bring it out.
He can tell us how it actually works.
I will beat both of you guys at this game. There's no skill involved.
So you're actually holding the original version of that up.
Yeah, when I was like 8, 7. Yeah.
Nice.
And so I had that printed on aluminum, had it FedEx delivered, drilled a hole in it, took a nail, took a hammer, and inside of the igloo, nailed it up.
That's
and
awesome.
I had put in there a little bit of text that said, "Thank you for the adventure, George."
Nice.
And that was it.
That's
so
pretty
that
cool.
was what I left behind.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. All right, so I think we'll cut here.
Yes. We got a lot. We gave the fans a lot to digest.
They got to digest it. They got to breathe a little bit, and then we're going to come and go back to some more photos and talk about this vial of goodness right here.
And then we're going to give the fans some good tidbits if they want to do this, how to book it, where to book it, the whole 9 yards if they want to go.
Cool.
All right. Until next time, part 2, baby.
Hello. You good? اللي بعدك يعود ده جزء يعني الدول ده اليوم خسرنا جات